Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another video. Thank you so much for being here. For today, I want to share with you my most anticipated book releases of 2026. Hopefully everything goes well in this video because this is the third time I'm trying to film it. The first time around, my camera got disconnected from the mic or the mic from the camera or whatever, and I couldn't use that footage. And then the second time around, I forgot to press on the record button, which is quite embarrassing. So hopefully everything works fine this time. But that being said, let's talk about the books that I'm excited to read this year, starting with The Swan's Daughter by Roshani Chokshi, and this is already published by the time you're watching this video. The release date for this was January 6th. I only read The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi, and I deeply loved that book. It was so majestic and fairy tale-esque, kind of. It was exploring this toxic female friendship, and it kind of like blurred the lines between what's real and what's not, and I love that book a lot. So I'm very excited for The Swan's Daughter. The synopsis for this new release is: Prince Aris knows that marriage means murder. I am currently watching The Traitors, the US season. I think it's season 4 or something like that, with the one with Lisa Rinna. The problem is that every single time I see the word murder, I'm thinking about how Alan Cumming says it. So yeah, anyway, so Prince Aris knows that marriage means murder. Thanks to a poorly worded wish to a sea witch, all one needs to rule the Isle of Malice is the heart and hand of the kingdom's heir. Historically, this has been construed quite literally. Thus, Aris expects that the day after his marriage and murder, he will wake up as a sentient tree alongside the rest of his predecessors. His only chance at a long life is finding true and lasting love. When Aris's parents announce a tournament of brides to compete for his hand and heart, a slew of eligible, lovely, and possibly murderous bachelorettes make their way to Raid Castle. Amidst glittering bowls in Oswald Caves, I don't know what Oswald means, but I guess we'll find out in the book, strolls through menageries of daydream trees and pearl crocodiles, tea time on glass boats, and kisses that leave his head spinning, Aris cannot tell who is here out of love for him or lust for power, until he meets the Melza. As a Veritas swan, the Melza's song rings out the truth. Forced into hiding, the Melza strikes a deal. Aris will provide her with safekeeping in exchange for her truth-telling song to sort through his potential brides. While Aris is used to dodging death threats and the Melza is accustomed to fighting for her voice to be heard, to survive the tournament of brides requires a different kind of bravery. And perhaps the bravest thing one can do is not merely protect one's life, but find the courage to chase a life worth living. This sounds absolutely amazing, and hopefully I will have the time to get to this book this month, but if not, I will be making sure to read it very soon because I cannot wait. And then the other release that I'm so excited for in January is by T. Kingfisher. You already know at this point that everything T. Kingfisher writes, I read, like there's no exception. And this book is called 9 Goblins and will be published on January 20. The blurb for this one says, no one knows exactly how the Goblin War began, but folks will tell you that goblins are stinking, slinking, filthy, what's going on? Sheep stealing, henhouse raiding, obnoxious, rude, and violent. Goblins will actually agree with all of this and might throw in cowardly and lazy too for good measure. But goblins don't go around killing people for fun, no matter what the propaganda posters say. And when a confrontation with an evil wizard lands a troop of 9 goblins deep behind enemy lines, Goblin Sergeant Nesilka must figure out how to keep her hapless band together and get them home in one piece despite a path filled with elves, trolls, monsters, and that most terrifying of creatures, a human being. This is more so in the realm of like cozy fantasy-ish, but this is going to be like 160 pages. This is more so like a novella, and I cannot wait to read it, hopefully this month if my pre-order arrives on time. And then jumping ahead a bit, on May 12, I am very excited for the new book by Veronica Roth called Seek the Traitor's Son, and I also believe that this is going to be the beginning of a new fantasy series from Veronica Roth. But let's see what this book is about. So the blurb of this one says, Elegy An did not ask for destiny to find her. She is happy with her life as a soldier, defending her small country from the Talusar, a powerful nation who worships a deadly fever. A fever that blesses half of its victims with mysterious gifts. But then she's summoned to hear a prophecy, her and the most ruthless of Talusar generals, Rava Vidar. Brought face to face, they learn that one of them will lead their people to victory over the other, but they don't know which. And at the center of both their fates, a man that Elegy is told she will fall in love with. In one day, Elegy's old life, her job, her purpose, and her future is over. She and Rava are destined to collide, with the fate of their nations hanging in the balance. And when they do, one will be left standing. If you read anything by Veronica Roth, like Divergent or her other new book releases, I'm sure you can picture why I'm so excited for this book. And then, if you are in this booktube sphere, you probably already know about this book, but on June 2nd, there's going to be the release of Cindy Pham's debut novel, which is called The Secret World of Briar Rose. I'm very excited to read this one. So the synopsis for this one says, 100 years have passed since the last heir of Gildan, I don't know how to pronounce this name. But anyway, so 100 years have passed since the last heir of Gildan fell into eternal slumber and doomed the once mighty kingdom into poverty and invasion. At last, that's what the fairy tales claim. Corinne is a jaded thief who doesn't believe in fables, even when she searches Gildan's underground tunnels to find her younger sister Ellie, who ran away to find the sleeping princess in hopes of a better life. Corinne's conviction is challenged when she discovers the ruins of the ancient castle maintained by beings from the kingdom's golden age who protect the hidden portal into Princess Amelia's subconscious. Following Ellie's voice, Corinne jumps in the portal and seals the entry behind her. Inside the lush world of Amelia's dreams, the sisters reunite for a new adventure as they meet Briar Rose, Amelia's whimsical alter ego, and Malicine, a sharp-tongued demon with a gift for magic. But as they explore ice castles, sunflower mazes, and star-filled oceans, Corinne suspects Briar Rose is hiding darker secrets behind her perfect paradise, and that there are some things their subconscious can't bury forever. So excited to read this debut by Cindy Pham. And then also in the summer, on the 2nd of July, I actually don't know if this was like 100% confirmed or not in terms of the publication date, but this is the finale of the Heartstopper graphic novels, and I am so excited to see how the story of Charlie and I already forgot the name of the other guy from the story. I think I'm doing a reread of Heartstopper, so we will get the final installment from this series in the summer of this year. Then on August 11, A Trade of Blood by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the third installment of the Shadow of the Leviathan series by this author, and I actually just read the first two books in this series, so I'm very excited to see what Anna and Dean are going to do in this new book. I will not read the synopsis for this one because it might contain some spoilers for the first two books if you didn't read those. So I just want to tell you that I'm very excited for this book. The first two books in this series were so smart and interesting, and I don't think I ever read a murder mystery in this like fantastical world that is such a good setup for an epic fantasy story, but it just so happens that that story is a murder mystery. Like, it was so well executed, and yeah, as I said, I'm very excited for the third and potentially final installment from this series. We'll see. We'll see in August. Also in August, a new release from one of my favorite authors, Olivia Blake. This is Dreamland. So the synopsis for this one says, the headlines are calling it the summer of exsanguination in LA. This is already giving me, what was that book with the vampires? Lucy Undying. This is giving me Lucy Undying vibes so far. The headlines are calling it the summer of exsanguination in LA. Girls are being murdered, the Santa Ana winds are blowing a strange energy into the city, and all signs point to fire season. But Anya Morris has other things to worry about, like whatever it takes to get a foot in the door of an unfeeling, ever-changing industry after losing the TV pilot that should have been her big break. Enter William DeWitt, a movie star of generational acclaim who poses as his son Jude. Just what? This sentence doesn't make any sense to me. So enter William DeWitt, a movie star of generational acclaim who poses as his son Jude, has a rare condition that forces him into a reclusive lifestyle. This doesn't make sense to me, but it's probably like a mistake on Goodreads or something. In exchange for spending time with him, Anya will gain entry to Hollywood's most powerful circles. Just like that, a world of money, access, and industry clout sprawls at Anya's feet, like the city below the mysterious DeWitt villa in the hills. But behind the gilded veneer of fame lies decades of blood-stained secrets, and it just may be that an occult family curse lives within the villa's walls or within Jude himself. But there's a dark magnetism to Jude that Anya can't resist, despite warning signs that scream like sirens in the night. And as the murders across the city continue to ratchet up the summer heat, something has to give. There's smoke in the air, but who will be the one to strike the match? Anything by Olivia Blake I'm interested in, so this is a no-brainer, or it sounds like a no-brainer, but we'll find out in August. And then also in August and September I think are going to be really full months. But on August 25, Daggerbound by T. Kingfisher, which is the second installment of the Sword Heart series, is going to be published. The synopsis for Daggerbound says, 400 years ago, 3 warriors were trapped inside enchanted swords, cursed to be immortal servants to whoever wielded the blade. One of them is Dervish, a restless, fiery soul who hates his captivity and hates his wielders even more, but has never found a way to escape the sword's magic. Then one day, a disillusioned scholar named Learned Edmund is tasked with delivering the sword to a distant city, and in the greatest of perils draws the blade. The dervish finds himself bound to a sweet, brilliant, and above all kind young man. And while he may be able to protect Edmund from bandits, cultists, dragons, and strange inhuman diplomats, he may find it much harder to protect his own heart. This more so sounds like a sequel that's a prequel almost, but nonetheless, I'm very excited for Daggerbound. I read Sword Heart, I think last year, and I really enjoyed that story a lot. So yeah, Daggerbound is going to be out August 25. And then in September, on September 1st, The Knave and the Moon by Rachel Gillig is going to be released. This is the second installment of the Stonewater Kingdom series. This is the sequel to The Night and the Moth, and I love that first book. I know some people really loved it and some people really hate it. I don't think there's any in between with that book. I personally really liked that one. For this one, again, I will not be reading the synopsis because it contains spoilers for the first book. I actually just saw on Threads, I think, or on Instagram like a couple of days ago, the photo shoot that they did for the cover of this book, because it was not revealed yet, and I can't wait to see the results of that. So this was The Knave and the Moon, out September 1st. Also on the 1st of September, another book from another series that I absolutely adored, and I waited so long for this book. This is Deadbeat by Leigh Bardugo, the third installment in the Alex Stern series. There's no cover, there's no blurb, there's nothing about this book yet, other than the fact that it is going to be released on the 1st of September, and I can't wait to read this third and again potentially final installment in the Alex Stern series. In October, on the 27th, Scorpion Deep by C.G. Drews. Last month in December, I just read Hazel Torn by this author, and I loved that story a lot. Also a big fan of Don't Let the Forest In by the same author, so suffice to say, I am so excited for Scorpion Deep. The blurb for this one says, the only thing Jonathan Covey wants from the gloomy, moldering Isle of Kelcaro is to live it. Summer is ending and his friends are looking forward to college on the mainland, unaware that Jonathan was not accepted to join them. He'll be left behind with nothing but the ocean's haunts and the rising dread of being abandoned. In an act of willed desperation, Jonathan pays a tithe to Scorpion Deep, an eldritch sea god who many of the locals have dismissed as myth. He wants to forget the past, he wants to follow his friends, and most of all, he wants to finally escape. To his shock and horror, the ritual works, Scorpion Deep awakens, and despite his terror, Jonathan can't help but feel drawn towards this ageless entity that seems just as mutually obsessed with him. As scales start growing down his spine and Scorpion Deep's adoration of him turns bloody, Jonathan realizes the only way to end the nightmare is to destroy the monster one way or another. But once a god has awoken, the only way to be free is to pay a price of blood. As I said, Don't Let the Forest In and Hazel Torn were immaculate, so I would expect nothing less from this new release, Scorpion Deep. Also in the fall, we don't have a publication date yet for this book, but Cassandra Clare's first book in the last series of the Shadowhunters Chronicles, yes, that's a mouthful, The Last King of Faerie, as part of the Wicked Powers series, is going to be released, and I cannot wait to read this book. I think I'll take some time off of work just to make sure that I devour this book when it is going to be released. The blurb of this one says, it follows Kit Herondale, Ty Blackthorn, and Drusilla Blackthorn from the Dark Artifices series as they are drawn into the final massive conflict between the side of demons and the side of angels. Their story drives the narrative as Drew is pulled into matters of faerie, and the life of Ash Morgenstern and Kit and Ty must solve a mysterious disappearance. Meanwhile, Janus, the dark version of Jace Herondale, plots to bring the whole world under his power, along with his demon accomplices. He hopes to rule over everything with Clary Frey by his side. Not this again, oh my god. Khan, Drew, Kit, Ash, and Ty, separated from their friends and family, hope to hold him back. While these 4 are our main characters, we'll also be checking in with so many others: Jace, Clary, Magnus, Alec, Emma, Julian, Mark, Kiernan, Christina, Jem, and Tessa, probably for the last time ever. I don't know how to tell you how much this means to me. I've been so sucked into the Shadowhunters universe in the past couple of years, and I read the Mortal Instruments like when I was a teenager. Probably shouldn't have at that point, but you know, it is what it is. And then in the last couple of years, I read the kind of like spin-offs of that series. I read the Infernal Devices, the Dark Artifices, the Lost Hours series, I think it's called. But yeah, I just love this overarching universe of the Shadowhunters so much, and I cannot wait for the Last King of Faerie. And then last but not least, on the 1st of December, The Fires of December by Brandon Sanderson is going to be released. And then with the announcement of this book, we also found out that Yumi and the Nightmare Painter and Dress of the Emerald Sea are part of kind of like the same series as this new one, The Fires of December. And that series is called Hoid's Travels. So I guess this is kind of like Brandon Sanderson's take on cozy fantasy almost. And you can clearly see it by how the other 2 were written, because they were so fun and lighthearted, but also had a lot of substance. I would expect kind of like the same general vibe from The Fires of December. So the synopsis of this one says, in the next Cosmere standalone novel, Hoid has an epic tale to share. A young woman named December learns a devastating plague is on its way. But who will believe her? Against impossible odds, she sets sail up the River Violet to warn the King's court, determination and wisdom beyond her years burning in her eyes. Along the way, she'll navigate incredulous royal officials, twisted court intrigue, and a roguish count with only her wits and her new friends, a talkative priestess, and a fledgling fashion designer. So yeah, this is The Fires of December. Hopefully by the time this book comes out, I will have already finished the Stormlight Archive series by Brandon Sanderson. This is kind of like my goal for this year, if you will. And with that, these are all of the books that I'm so excited for this year in 2026. Please let me know in the comments down below, what are you excited to read this year? Not necessarily from the books that are going to be published this year, but in general, I would like to know that. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, do all of the things if you want to, and I will see you soon with a new video here on the channel. Bye everyone.